Good morning, friends. The last piece of this teams and votes and things like that I want to talk about is recognizing when we are and are not on our own team. There are a lot of people that I meet over the years in sessions and just socially that have this tendency towards self-sabotage and difficulty being consistent in goals and follow through. I know for me, I am really good at starting things and really struggle to finish things. And so being able to recognize the things that we do for ourselves that interfere with our ability to feel peace and calm in a pretty chaotic world. And so paying attention to how do we want to live our lives and what are the things we can do with intention to be able to follow through with that. One of those things being what our values are and how do we live them. A lot of times I meet people that struggle to even know what those are and understand how do I live them, what does that look like, and how that shows up. One of those things I noticed a couple years ago was I had a tendency toward exaggeration. And it wasn't like in an intentionally dishonest way, but it began feeling dishonest as I started to dial down on my honesty. So for example, when I was working, a client would say, "Holly, have you called my attorney yet?" And I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I've called him like 5 times and they haven't called me back." And I'd have to correct myself. I said, I'm really sorry. I've actually only called them 3 times. So sorry, that wasn't honest. And our ability to be thoroughly honest with ourselves and be thoroughly honest with those around us allows me at least, to be able to know where I stand and to be consistently holding myself accountable for things. Sometimes there are times where we need to give ourselves some space, grace, and compassion, where if you're feeling particularly sick or things like that, it is okay to say, "I don't have the energy to do that. I can't do that now. I have to cancel." There are other times where we use those kinds of things as excuses. I know there's been times where I felt a little bit ill and kind of didn't want to, and I wouldn't show up and I'd get worse and I'd feel worse. But then on a different day, I would feel a similar symptom and say, "You know what, I'm just going to push through and go." And I went, and I was really glad that I went, and my symptoms subsided. So how do we know which one is which one? And so being able to recognize, one of those things for me is, when am I letting my feelings be the boss? So I think feelings are very good information. They tell us things about ourselves, how we're feeling, what's important to us. But I also know that when I let my feelings be the boss, sometimes it takes me out of who I want to be. And so being aware that sometimes if I don't feel like going to book club, or if I don't feel like being nice to someone, or if I don't feel like doing my chores, or whatever those things are, recognizing the kind of person I want to be and not letting my feelings decide. A lot of times that will also show up in the ways we interact with other people. So for example, if I feel angry, acting aggressive in response to that feeling can actually damage the relationship. But if I can acknowledge that I'm feeling angry or resentful or frustrated, then I may be able to communicate that in a way that isn't unhealthy and that actually allows for a connection with someone. So if I feel like punching someone in the face and I choose not to, and I have a different kind of conversation with them, that's more productive and it improves our relationship. Also, those feelings can also lend to us shutting down and not communicating at all. And so being aware of what our goal is in those interactions and with our interactions with ourselves, so that we are on our own team. So if I believe that my voice matters and I speak up and nobody listens, at least I listened. But if I think no, my voice doesn't matter and I don't speak up and it breeds resentment, then that affects my sense of self and my relationships with other people. So being aware of how we can be on our own team, whether that is being how we use our voice, but also how we discipline ourselves. I will tell you, I've met so many people over the years that when they've had experiences with authority figures that was not healthy or kind or compassionate, they very much resist anyone having authority over them, including themselves. So that lends to a lack of self-discipline, a difficulty holding ourselves accountable. And then because anytime someone has authority over us, it triggers that trauma. And so being able to pay attention to, what am I doing that is acting like I'm not on my own team? So there will be times that I won't feel like someone's on my team because they're calling me out on stuff that is actually true. But I'm not ready to hear it, or I'm resistant to authority because of my own past experiences. And so being aware of that sometimes we're going to feel like other people are not on our team when in reality they are, but we are not on our team. And so we're not open to that kind of spiritual consent or feedback from the people that care about us. But again, that doesn't give someone a right to cast a vote in a way that's harmful. And so being aware of, what are the things that I can do this week to show that I'm on my own team? And even furthermore, if you're in a partnered relationship, what are the things that I can do this week to show that I'm on a team with my partner, with my family, with my spouse? Because a lot of times we think only of ourselves and our team, and we don't consider the fact that our partner has a vote in those kinds of choices. So being aware of who's on my team, how am I showing that my partner and my kids and my neighbors, if I want to be on their team, how do I show them? And I hope you start paying attention to and setting some goals around how can you be on your own team, whether that's making and keeping a commitment to yourself, or making and keeping a commitment to change or grow or build a new habit. All of those things are positive things toward our own self-support. I hope you have a good week.